what I thought about like the overall structures of my topic.
Yep.
Um, so like this is kind of the layout I have for so far. So basically, as like the population is aging, like the comorbidity become quite essential part of like for the health model to estimate like either quality or further estimation towards nice and all that. So that's kind of the approach I was thinking. And then
Yep.
the current model we have right now have like an um, part that could improve is toward like the disease calculation part because the scenario we were thinking recently was for now was mostly based on one disease and the utility result out of it. So that's why we're consider the comorbidity effect and just like the limitations and research gap towards that will be what we're targeting towards our project. And like
Okay.
the overall result we want to have is improve the quality aspect towards the national health models. And this is just a brief aim and objective I have for myself,
Yep.
and just kind of more of a layout I write down for the previous page, just to identify like the limitation at the comorbidity part. So that's why we are doing that, and the way we gather our data will mainly come from the nice technology page, and
Yep.
then summarize things. Just the methodology overflow that I created was like that. So like the gap we discover and towards the research literature review, like we identify disease cluster that happened in multiple, basically that was mostly occurring in most of the disease, and that's why we kind of targeting the most prevalent one, and those aspects kind of have a good impact towards quality of life. It's so I mainly select like the one I see most occurring was like pain, mental health, hearing, and vision loss. So I kind of narrowed down to those four for so far, and then we're doing the data collecting part for from the for a document you provide me, and I basically go through the source and then extract out the useful utility evidence out of it. So I will show you like the Excel file that I done for vision loss so far, and then in the document I basically summarize the utility loss for different scenario. Some documents do mention the age range, then I will put it on. If not, I will just mainly focus on the utility differences between having treatment or without treatment or different severity for different condition. I will just summarizing all the utility value out of it. It's whether it's gaining or this utility. I will list it on this Excel file, and then for the next step, I mainly thought about like maybe I'm not quite sure about the technology part, but I figure like in the national health model, perhaps I improved the Excel file, then somehow like the calculations um, will give us like an estimation towards the possibility for for multiple disease at once, and then we can compare the. I can find a paper that perhaps have like heart disease plus vision loss or
Yep.
um, different disease plus vision loss. Then I can compare how like how basically how accurate this could be, like how far apart the number was towards the actual study we have right now, and towards the validation. That's what I have been thinking so far. Basically, just comparing the estimate value towards the publication that I can find so far to compare
Yep.
it and see like how far apart. If it's close, then good. That's a good result. If not, then maybe there's other aspect we need to consider into it. Then there will be more future works and further discussion towards my thesis. But I think mainly I was still not quite sure about the national health model part because uh, when I was thinking towards the collecting data, there's part that I was thinking, for example, like the vision loss part, I mainly just focusing on the vision lost and with or without, but it doesn't really have a disease database for like simply. I thought maybe in national health model they already have like a data set that's like simply just for one disease, and basically I can just add on this value and find out like what the value is, because I haven't done the just basically for other disease to add it on. Like I only
So the way that it works at the moment in terms of the dish utility is you absolutely brilliantly, absolutely solid everything I'm looking at here. I think you're absolutely on the right track. So the way that it generally works at the moment is as you just flick back to the previous slide. You described this brilliantly on
this one?
Earlier one, the one where you had the limitations. So really kind of at the moment where you have this kind of like single disease based utility, what we have in there at the moment is where we model a disease, we have a disutility associated with that disease. So at the moment it's you are 2 years post myocardial infarction, your disutility is this. So that's what exists therein at the moment, and absolutely spot on with these limitations and that's why we end up with poor comorbidity representation, because that really doesn't consider the comorbidity sides and where this comes on. So absolutely spot on with this. The next slide where you're doing absolutely the correct methodology. Really, and kind of the key objectives to do it. This next slide on there, absolutely phenomenal. It's so nice to see this. So in terms of I would say kind of where you're going on here, so effectively what we're going to look to do, and as you build these up, is effectively when you and you describe it great on, let me just see which one it is. Utility, quality of life evidence, this like retrieving original utility studies, and where you've done them from the like nice technology appraisals. So effectively what we want to do is say, okay, you've had a heart attack, what are the symptoms associated with that heart attack? And then National Health Model and the quality of life model together generates effectively a profile of a patient in terms of age, gender, disease history, and symptoms, and then we go from those symptoms through to utility.
So we use like the symptoms as like a keyword to trace back the patient, and then we run with those database for.
Yeah, so you've described the way you've described this on here fits really, it fits really nicely. A lot of, you're really kind of where you taking on from kind of 3 where you have these kind of quality of life domains, where you have the pain, the mental health, where you link them into symptoms and severity to get to the utility. So really kind of it's all starting to come together by section. It's all kind of come together by section 9. Stage 9 on this is kind of like really where you end up, and then 10, 11, 12 absolutely spot on. So I say kind of really kind of where you're on with this at the moment, to link it to have that where you're talking about things like the vision loss and the pain and the mental health. I guess from the thing with the vision loss, vision loss is one of the vision loss is really nice and clear, because it's you will have an ICD-10 code for vision loss. No, and that will actually already be in the data that we've is on the National Health Model stuff, and there will already be some disutility associated with that.
Yeah, I think that's also like one of the questions I want to ask, because so far like I already finished the vision loss part, but like the rest I haven't like done everything. So
yeah, of course.
I was wondering towards like because we have like a deadline time period, so I was wondering, apart from vision loss, is there's any priority I should like just emphasize on? Because how I'm thinking is like I'll go back to the Excel file you provide me, and I just go to every document, but perhaps it's a little bit hard to go through everything to get like all the data out at times. So I was thinking, is there maybe I can take like 3 or 2 documents out of the other 3 topics, and then we can at least have like a little bit of everything, because I think it will be a little bit too much, and I would say like real hard to achieve to go through all the document in the Excel file.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in terms of, for the moment, for this deadline and for the draft, I'd actually say for this kind of like 8th of August deadline that you've got, For the 8th of August deadline that you've got,
I think it's the 6th of the August.
I think August. Sorry, yeah, August. Yeah, for this, I think just focusing on the vision is fine. What you want to do, what you want to do within this is kind of like really cover the majority of these stages, your writing and the rest of it, and then your process for the next is just filling in the others. You know, you get through the background, you get through kind of like the key objectives, you tie this into why? Because vision loss is already a multi-disease outcome. You have just general blindness. You have like a big chunk of diabetes is vision loss, for example.
Yeah, that's also what I thought.
So, you know, you have a quality of life associated with diabetes, but actually a chunk of that is diabetic patients that end up going blind. So it's not to focus on that kind of like individual symptomatic approach already covers you every single disease that has some kind of vision loss. So already to associate. So I would say one of the things where I think where it becomes slightly more complicated and we potentially haven't touched on is this, which you have in here because you've talked about this kind of like National Health Model Master Database. There's two parts. It's as it's written, it's clear, particularly when you look at stage 9. But actually, there's a step before symptoms, which is disease.
Yeah.
So I think maybe to put this to disease, symptom, severity, utility is the thing for section 9.
I think I write it here. It doesn't really say.
Yeah. No, we've definitely talked about it, but I think just on this like methods slide on the stage 9. So you have symptoms, severity, utility. I'd put before that disease. I put a disease arrow, symptoms arrow, severity arrow, utility.
Yeah, I think I also have like a question towards the disease part because I think apparently like there's lots of disease that can go like comorbidity with like vision loss. I was wondering, as for finding like data for validation, do I go for, because I'm not quite sure like because I also thought about that. I was wondering because I think this part is supposed to be like there's like a disease mapping before the symptom one. Like is it like disease mapping towards the symptom? But I'm not quite sure that part. Is it within the model or is there?
Well, you can start. I'd linked that in with the Quality of Life Master Database. So if you're talking about those, so effectively where you end up with this, and a lot of that should come out from these as you're looking through the nice technology appraisals. So those nice technology appraisals will be a single disease specific that you're pulling out the utilities from.
A single disease.
So as you do those, that should give you this disease to the symptoms, and then once you've done that for the disease, the rest of it starts to come together. And this is also why I was saying for the vision, as the vision process, once you have that kind of tied in, things like the pain and the mental health symptoms that are associated with that are just going to be changing this NHM quality of life database. So the fact, for your thesis, it's not going to be a requirement that this National Health Model Quality of Life Master Database is, completely comprehensive, covers absolutely every single disease. That's there's too much for that. But if you get to the stage where the only thing that needs changing is the database needs completing, and this is what you said this exactly right with the validation. You find from the validation additional things that need to be considered. But for the additional things that need to be considered, the only thing that needs to change is those additional things need adding to the master database.
But apparently there's a lot of things that can be added on. I think also what my supervisor was really concerning is like because I was keep building the database and collecting it, and we haven't
moved on. This is what I wanted to move on to this. This is also what I was saying for the vision. I think for this process now, really just focus on the vision and get focus on getting this kind of done. I actually, if you're looking through them as well, if you the thing is, so mental health is a very interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of quality of life capture.
Mm-hmm.
I would pay, if you run into, as you're going through these technology appraisals,
Mm-hmm.
things that really quantify quality of life in mental health.
Mm-hmm.
You want to keep a separate log of those,
Separate log
because
for
actually
this.
that meant, so if you have that in terms of the impact on mental health, because it's that's something that is going to be a gap in the health. You may find that as a gap in the health technology appraisals. You may find that in like patient submissions. But if you don't worry about the wordy side of that, if you find numbers, and one or two of the others I looked at, that was like how many time. We also had this with like the migraine stuff in terms of quantifying day. If you find things that quantify for a disease days with mental health issues and
Mm-hmm.
severity within the diseases. So I say but to bring that back, I think to just focus on vision loss in terms of all the rest of it for the moment,
Mm-hmm.
and to focus on getting everything written up. I think the example I'm thinking of for this is, you have if you use vision loss as your worked example,
Mm-hmm.
and then the rest, so what you have for your thesis is all of this with vision loss as the worked example, and then the rest of what's in the National Health Model Quality of Life database is just there. You don't need to spend huge amounts of time writing up about it. It just needs the database of, it's this is this value, it comes from this reference, is the database. So this for you, if I think focusing on that from vision, because it captures this process of from disease through symptoms, through severity, through utility, all of that. That's really what you need to capture, and vision loss lets you do all of that.
Yeah, and I think the question I have is like, I'm not sure in terms of like, adding on the utility. Like basically, there's disease A, B, C perhaps, and now I have like the vision loss symptoms, like utility value that can be added on and to calculate it with different age and severity. And I was just wondering, like for the disease A, B, C, we're gonna perhaps do the comorbidity like estimations. I don't have the data for
So
that. Yeah.
effectively, what you end up with is two tables.
Uh huh.
One table is disease symptoms severity,
Yeah.
and the other table is symptoms severity utility.
Uh, Sorry, can you say it again? I'm not sure if I,
So
yeah.
the first table
Uh
is
huh.
disease symptoms severity,
Uh huh.
and the second table is symptoms severity utility.
Yeah, I think I've done both of that.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of where you're going with that.
Uh huh.
Why? Because then what you have is, if you have three diseases with their symptoms and severity, you can then map those into, if there's where the symptoms overlap,
Uh huh.
you can do the worst of the severity, and then effectively where they overlap, the lower symptoms are the ones that vanish from your outcome. So if you, for example, if we're talking about, I don't know whether this will work, don't know how well that will work for something like vision loss, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But well, actually, I think there's. I'm just trying to think on the. Do you have for the vision loss like the different disease? Do you have a quick table of the vision loss? Because I
Yeah.
can't think of
I
them off
think
the top of my
I
head.
was sharing right now. Can you see my screen?
Yep, I've got the
Yeah.
Excel.
So like for the severity, I actually got like the number of all the vision, like the vision, hearing loss. Sorry,
Yep.
hearing loss. Actually, I'm doing the hearing loss, not the vision loss. Sorry, the hearing loss. Um, so this is kind of like the utility value,
Yep.
without any treatment, and how severe each can cause the utility value, like this utility and utility. And
Yep.
so I kind of did all the calculation here. And
Yep.
then there will be like the treatment with different treatment and with different age group, basically just child and adult, mostly child and adult, and with
Yep.
all different kind of treatment like circumstances. And this is
Yep.
like the utility value and like the CI 95% CI range out of it. I'm
Yep.
not sure if we need this, but I just put it on just in
Yeah,
case.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant. You know, that's the nice next stage. So, what I would ask what I would say from this though is, okay, for the hearing loss,
Uh-huh.
do you have from here diseases that have hearing loss as an outcome, as a
Uh
symptom, rather than so our hearing loss is our this is our hearing loss severity of hearing loss to utility table. Do you have a second one of diseases that cause so there's you know I can think of two off the top of my head. One is one three actually. I can think of several causes of hearing loss. One is you were young and you listened to too much loud music.
mm-hmm.
The second is meningitis.
Uh-huh.
The third is stroke.
Uh-huh.
So you can have, you know, those are the three diseases, and you have hearing loss. You know, you have hearing loss associated with like just general exposure to too much loud noise, but you also have meningitis. That was when I was involved in all of this. That was actually one of the first ones that absolutely put me to tears. It was like one of the worst kind of like biggest shocks ever. Was one of the first projects I did was vaccination for meningitis.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother had meningitis when he was 14,
Oh.
and he was fine. He spent 2 weeks in ICU, and he come out, and there was absolutely nothing wrong with him. And I'm
Ah.
come into this completely, you know, I come into this with no kind of medical background. I'm economics, computer science. I didn't really so my only exposure to meningitis up to that point was my brother came out, and he was fine, and I would never really knew why everybody was so terrified of meningitis, because okay, my brother had it and it was serious, but he was fine and there was nothing wrong with him.
Mm-hmm.
They gave me, as part of the project, like the patient notes
Mm-hmm.
of like what had happened, and those patient notes that came out were absolutely horrific. It's like a 4-year-old girl that ends up blind, deaf, with severe epilepsy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was literally just at that point of like, oh my God, how lucky my brother was to come out with it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, so again, this other side, what I would kind of jump on from this now is looking at this table that I've got on from here, that part of the table for the symptom severity utility you have for hearing loss. But what you want to look through from those for those hearing losses is the different causes of it, and when you have them, what the severity is. So this other table side of the disease that causes the hearing loss symptom, and if you have within that disease, when you have it, like how, because what I would say from that is it's not just severity, it's also how common it is within that disease.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have why? Because so like I was just saying with my brother, the hearing loss is a symptom of having had meningitis, but not everybody has hearing loss as a symptom.
Mm. Okay. So, so perhaps we're focusing on the hearing loss right now. I still need to find disease that with hearing loss and how, like, basically how much it happens in certain age group or like.
Exactly.
But
And I do because you've already got this part of it. I would do that I do that also for the vision loss as well, if you can, because I think this is basically what this here. Having the technologies is like a massive step up as well. But realistically, what we should be able to do with the technologies from those is we would generally do that specifically for a technology assessment. So to be able to say, this is the reduction in the symptoms, this is the severity, how it reduces the severity of symptoms. If we quantify the technologies in that way, we already have that from your model for the technologies. So it absolutely spot on to have that in terms of already. I wouldn't say not do it, but at the same time, what you're doing with this symptom approach makes what they've done with the technology impact on utility much easier to do.
Mm.
Of how technologies reduce the severity of symptoms, you can, from this quality model that you're building, go straight to what that means in terms of improvement of quality of life of those patients.
Yeah, but because I kind of need to show like an data result, I was wondering, is it possible to run like a result out of the data set that we have so far? Because
From these, absolutely, in terms of the result from that, absolutely, but you want the disease, because what you have on there at the moment is the when you have a symptom, what the utility is. What we need to do now is give people symptoms. So this second table from this disease symptom severity kind of table, and I'd focus on that for the hearing loss to begin with. And there's probably let's have a quick look at maybe you even have some of this in your table things, but I will just Google it, because Googling always works. Hearing loss in stroke patients. Let me see if this is a good one.
but I think I'm really nervous about right now is like because I think at this stage we were supposed to doing the data analysis, but not much of like data collection anymore. But I was wondering, it's for example in national health model, is there already have like possible for like data set and this utility towards
Well,
certain disease?
so you will have in there already. Let me just. What's the ICD-10 vision loss? H54. You will already have in that data set H54 ICD-10 codes.
ICD-10 codes.
That's as that's blindness. So you're looking for hearing loss, aren't you? You might not have hearing loss in there. I'm not sure. Hearing loss is like age 90. So age 90, age 91 is hearing loss. Vision loss is age 54. Age 54 is definitely already in the data set. So age 54 naught is blindness both eyes. Age 54 1 is blindness one eye. 54 2 is low vision. So you've got like several different codes for the vision loss in those. So for vision loss we can do. I can do hearing loss very, very quickly if we have diseases that cause those symptoms of where they come from.
But for that, is it going to be like a single value of like, for example, this disease caused for example, like this disease that may have comorbidity with hearing loss, then it will have like a number for utility, or this utility.
No, so what I was saying for that is say we have hearing loss. So we have, for example, stroke patients. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's patients having stroke events, and percentage of stroke patients that suffer from hearing loss. Between 41 and 79% of stroke patients experience some degree of hearing impairment. So from half to nearly all of them end up with some kind of hearing loss from the stroke. Mm-hmm. So you have, for example, stroke patients. So there's a stroke event. So this is disease ICD-10 code. You have from that you have the study of how many of those have hearing loss, which is your symptom, and then you have from those, some kind of quantification types of impairment sensors. So there's probably, I would probably expect in that let me just open your. We have in Tanya. Have you synced up with UCL folder? Yeah, so it'll be in here then, probably down at the bottom. Yeah, Siberian.
Just show me the.
Yeah, 3. We have lots of reports for you because you've got lots of publications.
Like, it's not funny. We are nervous. Me and Sabrina.
I'm not nervous. I've just seen a presentation. She's
Yeah,
it's
she's
sad.
phenomenal.
It's sad, but
You shouldn't be nervous.
it's no need.
For 8 to
Right.
more than enough.
So.
One second, I'm just doing a quick search in this in what we've got to see if that'll work, because we've got 3 citation reports, so just seeing if any of those, what they have on. Yeah. So what I would do for stroke definitely that covers a big one. Hearing loss. Let's have a quick look. If I can do a couple of causes of hearing loss.
Could you also share the screen with me, or?
Yeah, I can. So I can. 1 second. They are also good. There's not much to share at the moment. I just have a spinning circle. I will find you on this one. No, where is that? Here. Share. This guy. Yeah. This is kind of where I've got on this. So you had I can't. It's not letting me change because you can probably see I just have the spinning because it's open. Because you have 4 Word documents with this kind of like explanation for why to use those publications. So I just did a search in this for hearing loss. So these are of those publications that we found for quality of life where they so this PMC, and I'm just making your bib text for doing and the write up as well.
But the question I have so far is like for disease plus hearing loss,
Yeah.
what number should I find for like for different? Because I think the problem I have right now is like I don't have the knowledge like what kind of information we need to in order to run through the national health model estimations, because it's kind of like I have to show it tomorrow like to the supervisor, but like I don't know like what else can I show him.
So what I would suggest on this, and we have this already on there. Let me just swap the Google result that I get on the. Where's my Zoom gone? No, stop share. Let me switch to this one. Share this one. So this one has the stroke patients that suffer from hearing loss. So this is here the disease is stroke patients, so patients that have a stroke. And that goes into that. So you're, and as this says, between 41 and 79% populations and roughly 50% measurable hearing, roughly. So 50% have measurable hearing loss on this one. So this is your disease is stroke. 50% have hearing loss as a 50% have a hearing loss as a symptom. You have within some of these and within those publications that are in will be of those 50%, what is the breakdown of the severity of the hearing loss. So this is disease symptom severity. So the disease from stroke through to hearing loss through to the breakdown of the severity. And then you have your table you've already been working to say, okay, these patients with this much hearing loss suffer this much disutility from the hearing loss. So you can then link those together. But if you have, for example, and the reason why this is good from comorbidity side of stuff is you also have just hearing loss as something that happens generally. So if you have for patients that have already had hearing loss as a symptom, when they have a stroke, that won't be a disutility in those patients because they had the hearing loss as a symptom before they had the stroke. When we do this as a run. So this is why this works for this comorbidity, looking at symptoms rather than diseases. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do. Because initially I thought I just need to collect the data for the symptoms itself, and already have the disease data in the national health model.
So we have disease, but the thing is, something like stroke doesn't necessarily give you what the symptoms are associated with that stroke. But you should have that in those technology assessments for stroke patients anyway. So they should already discuss what the symptoms are in that technology. When in a stroke technology assessment, it should give what the symptoms of stroke are in that technology assessment, along with what you've done looking at them separately in terms of quantifying the symptoms into a disutility.
Because I think for the document, the Excel file for a stroke, like the nice technology estimation things, they only have like separate. For example, I can get the separate disease.
Yeah, no, they don't. But so this is the problem. When you look at stroke, what they will give you on a stroke patient is a utility for stroke patients.
Yeah.
However, they will also give you the symptoms in stroke patients. They won't give you the utility from that, but they will describe these are your symptoms of stroke.
Yeah.
And turning those symptoms and severity into your utility is the second table that you're making that you've already got for hearing loss. And that then is where your validation comes in, because you can then have your tape for you have their stroke patient should have this utility from the technology report, and you then have an estimate of what that utility is by taking the stroke utility and estimating it in a completely different way. I think probably I was a bit quick when I said this.
Yeah.
So when you have utility being measured in stroke patients, that utility is measured by using EQ5D on patients who've had stroke. So that EQ5D quality of life measure is in no way is only connected to their symptoms in the respect that their symptoms have influenced their answering of the questions on the EQ5D questionnaire.
Yeah, I know.
So that's from a stroke. However, when you do it this way, where you say this many stroke patients have hearing loss, this many patients have, and you build them up, and this many stroke patients have pain, this many have mobility restrictions. And mobility restrictions plus pain plus hearing loss mean this much reduction in quality of life. Those two should be the same when you calculate them the two different ways. There's more caveats to that in terms of the discussion, but fundamentally, where you were talking about that validation side, that's why you end up with the validation side, because your disutilities associated with your disutilities associated with symptoms don't come specifically from stroke, they come from the symptoms.
Yeah.
Whereas the stroke quality of life in the studies comes from actually asking the EQ5D questionnaire to stroke patients. Now, what I will say from this is there is, in terms of where that comes into the validation side, I'll jump a bit ahead in that I would expect what you are doing to capture much more detail, because, for example, the EQ5D questionnaire is terrible at mental health. It doesn't capture it. So within yours, as you fill in the data for like people with stroke patients have this many days of mental health issues, I would expect that to be a much larger decrease in the quality of life than would be reported, for example, in this thing. But that's a discussion limitations. That's kind of like the last step. This is why we need to get through these tables. I say focusing on hearing loss, focusing on these. There's probably there should be a like there's definitely a hearing impairment in stroke patients here. You've got a publication on it on that.
Sorry. Because I don't think I really have that much time to do every data collection right now. I just be really realistic
Just focus on the hearing loss. So just focus on the hearing loss. We can do another one of these. We can do it, but I think the other thing is it's also how much of what you've just showed me in this presentation have you got written down in a document so far?
I only started the introduction part, but I thought like maybe I should go through with you guys first to just like making sure I'm on the right page. But
yep.
The major issue I have right now is like I don't have any data out yet. I really need data to write my discussions and my data analysis because that's the major part. But apparently like I thought like maybe the data set right now is enough to run the.
So for something like let me open. So in terms of the runs for this, where's your RStudio, Tanya? Here. So I need to stop share screen. This is a supplemental page, and what I want is where would that be? No, there should be one on here. It's on supplemental fonts. This guy. This is build message set parameters. Right. So this and this is doing it on a get parameter. I don't know if I can open that. Yes. I have two of them open apparently. I only want one. Why have it opened three? Right. We were talking about we were talking before about this MapReduce function that you would do, that we can run on the data set itself. So effectively, what your this one goes through. I'm trying to think how best to explain this without in kind of a way you don't get lost. Actually, probably the events is better. So this build events function that's here is what this one is doing is, we were showing those we were showing the individual patient like data that's in there. So what this one does is this get diags here, this function, which runs is all of this here. What this is doing is for an individual patient, building out the age and the age that diagnosis happened and whether they were alive or not from the ICD-10 code material.
But isn't ICD-10 for the vision one or?
Yeah. So vision. I say hearing is H90. So I don't think at the moment there's anything in National Health Model itself that generates an H90 ICD-10 code. However, for your model itself, for your modeling from the, so I would say and what I would say from that is, the problem with symptoms is ICD-10 codes for symptoms don't really match that closely. I don't think, Tanya. ICD-10 doesn't really do symptoms very well. So, for example, for hearing and vision loss, there is ICD-10 codes for it. But for example, pain and mobility aspects of symptoms won't have ICD-10 codes.
Then.
So what you need from within your what you basically need to do from but what we have in National Health model of Regenerate is ICD-10 codes for diseases. So I would absolutely, for your beginning process of the worked example, go with stroke. Create a table of this. Create a table of this with some references. So what I will say of this from a modelling perspective is you have two approaches to modelling parameters. You have this systematic approach where you have to look at every single publication that gives you some estimate for some number. You don't have to do that. You can literally just find a publication that gives you the numbers that you want, and then you don't need to look for that number anymore.
What number are we talking about exactly?
Any number. So for example, for a disutility in hearing loss, for a disutility of profound hearing loss, as long as you've got if that's a number that you need, which it is, so the disutility of profound hearing loss, because we're doing hearing loss as a symptom, there's probably 100 publications that have a utility of profound hearing loss, but you only need one of those numbers as the number to fill that in. You don't have to do a full do I have every single publication that takes those numbers. That's a systematic review perspective. Each one of those is a whole project to itself. So just from if you have when you've got the number that you need, you can move on to something else. You don't need to keep looking for this other versions of that number.
But isn't it like I already have the number for the
hearing
loss utility?
You do. That's why. So that your hearing loss, that other part of that table for hearing loss is done already. I wouldn't say that needs to move anywhere further forward. But for stroke to hearing loss, you need this other with this like 40-50%. That as a number, those that I just found with that Google that I linked should give you. It is enough to go with that. So I just, we're picking 50% of people with an ICD-10 code of stroke have hearing loss. So what you need to, I can see from what you need to do from the model is you will have diagnosis like stroke, and you need from that stroke to map that to symptoms. And then map those symptoms to the EQ5D.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, not EQ5D, QALY. I don't know why I keep calling QALY EQ5D. It's not the same thing. From the symptoms. So effectively, what you have from the data set is okay. This is the stroke. To be able to run those, so you get given this is a stroke patient. What your our code model then wants to do is generate when you have an individual stroke event, generate what the symptom profile of that looks like.
I think that's the problem because I really don't know how to code, so I don't know I from my understanding I only collect the data. I'm not sure about how exactly would the coding will actually operate it because I thought maybe I provide you guys the table and then you guys can run the data for me and then I can get the results.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think I think that's probably the first stage. So from what we've talked about from here, those two tables. So for hearing, though, if you can do it for more, if you can do that for more than stroke. So if you can find other disease causes of hearing loss as an outcome.
Mm-hmm.
So just have a stroke causes this hearing. This many people have these severity. The way we kind of do them is to add up to 100%. So if you did, for example, if you've got, I haven't got the table in front of me, but you've got for example, of your severities, if that's what you've done for your quality of life on severity, say you have moderate, mild, moderate, and profound hearing
Yeah.
loss, so your symptom severities for hearing loss. If you do a stroke patient, percentage of patients that have that symptom, percentage of stroke patients that have hearing loss, and of those, it's generally like, I think, like 60, 30, 30, 40, 30, 40, 30, I think is the way they generally go. That adds up. So it's basically 30% are mild, 40% are moderate, 30% are severe, with a plus or minus generally of those go. But you generally find they're reasonably easy, or much less severe patients. So the other one, I think, is like 40, 40, 20. So 40% mild, 40% moderate, 20% severe. But you'll see those as you look through the numbers. But if you haven't found something for those in your table, just put a rough estimate. So it's going to be more severe, more mild. Just put some numbers. The way we build the models in those tables is, if there's a number we need that we haven't found or had chance to find the number for, in the actual Excel table, just make a good guess at what you think it would be, and then highlight that value as, this is a guess. Because that allows you to go into building the numbers, and from the rest of it, without having the exact numbers that you need. And because you can always come back and find more evidence for a specific number that you want. So as long as a guess is reasonably within the realm, it lets you move on with the rest. And then you can, one of the things I would say is really important for yours, and in terms of the data analysis, is going to be, as you build this out, the sensitivity analysis. So we have some code to help you with the sensitivity analysis, but in terms of how sensitive what you're generating is to things like different symptoms. So that's really where your data analysis will come from, but we have code that we can give you straight for that. That won't take you much time at all.
So I have several questions. I really need to just clarify. Yep. So for example, right now, I do have, like for example, hearing loss. They like the symptoms for like hearing loss. Like, let me see. Well, let me see the example. Where's the symptoms? Because I think for the symptoms, it doesn't really clarify like different severity. It can just like in general what hearing loss will cause, like the effect out of it. I'm not sure if that's what we need. Let me see. Sorry, just a minute. For example, like they will cause like psychological stress, or like some hearing loss will like also affect the depression's level. It's kind of like the symptoms that will carry out of that. But I'm not sure if it doesn't mean like different severity, like for example moderate or profound, they will have different symptoms coming out, because I don't really see much of information out of that. That's my first question for that. I'm not sure.
I would focus on, similar to the thing with the national health model, where it's single disease is a limitation. I wouldn't worry so much about things like hearing loss causing depression. Depression is assume your symptoms are mutually exclusive. So a disutility of hearing loss is hearing loss. Depression is something separate. If hearing loss causes depression, if hearing loss causing depression, for example, you should have, but it's the disease you're looking at. Depression and hearing loss should be two symptoms associated with that disease.
Yeah, because I thought like hearing loss itself is kind of like a symptom itself.
Yeah, so hearing loss is the symptom. Very much kind of focus this on from the symptoms of things, and pain, absolutely. Mental health, you can do in terms of that severity, and mental health you can measure in terms of days of the year with the mental health issues. So you'll have the utilities for those. From you'll have you have basically there is already EQ5D itself has 5 levels of utility for mental health. But again, what I would actually focus on, for thinking about this, what I would actually focus on rather than specifically hearing loss, is to look at the just give me a second.
Shall I like look at the? I think. So in order to run the actual data analysis out, the data we still needed is like the stroke, for example. Like stroke, we need to find like how many stroke patients that also have hearing loss, for example, like the percentage.
So that one that I just did as the thing on there, and just make that as this first table.
Yeah,
And as soon as you've got an example of those, you can send that over to us, and we'll send you back some code that runs and generates you result sets from those. Because the thing is, it's going to be what you're interested in. This is the it's not just the average value; it's the distributions. So it's not just it's the how all of these things tie together. What do they give you what do they give you and from a coding perspective, do things make sense? So to be able to identify. So this is one of the things I was thinking of hearing loss. How I don't think my approach to utility for these symptoms was the EQ5D state mapping, but hearing loss is, I don't think the EQ5D version of that doesn't have I don't think that has a 2-domain mapping.
Actually found it says like it was they all use HUI3. They use HUI3 for the mapping.
Oh, could you show me this if you've got something on that?
It's saying this, like this one was the one for mapping.
Ooh. Oh, that's an instrument. That's one like. Just have a quick. It's been a while since I. Where'd you go? Let's have a quick look for here and I'll send this. Give me a quick. Okay, that's fantastic. Do it that way. So 8 attributes: vision, hearing, speech, ambulation, dexterity, emotion, cognition, and pain. That doesn't have. That's right. So you do have good utility. You do have good things from this. Okay. That answers that. That settles that question. You don't need, that's absolutely the right way to take it. You're on the right direction from that. Let me show you what I was just looking at. So it's what, yeah, let me just, I don't know if, let me show, it's got, yeah, you've probably seen this already, but I was just looking at this one. So this is actually doing it as with vision, hearing, speech, ambulation as a domain. Because part of this, as you were saying, of like the thing with the interactions is quality of life from these like symptoms and domains don't necessarily already have quite a complicated relationship between them. So a decrease in vision and a decrease in hearing. So there's relationships between them. So vision loss has a certain amount. Vision loss has a certain amount of detriment to quality of life. Hearing loss has a certain amount of detrimental quality of life. But then these measures, one of the things they put all their effort into is what happens when you have vision and hearing loss as a detriment.
Mm-hmm.
But the numbers for that are all in this study. So when you have these defined as, kind of like vision, hearing, speech, ambulation, like even emotion. So actually, maybe this UE3 to divide them into these 8 levels is probably the best way to do it. For sure. 972,000 unique health states. Phenomenal.
Oh, great. Which date?
This is UE3, the Health Utility Index.
I'm not sorry. I'm still not quite sure. Like, what should I do for now? Because
So what I would say, right? So what I would say is like the next kind of like priority one is get for hearing loss disease. What diseases cause hearing loss what diseases cause hearing loss by severity as a table. So we know stroke is one of them. There should be, you can just Google a few of those and just make a single table of, just a single small table of the disease, the percentage of people that have, and then the percentage of people that have had that disease that end up with those symptoms. And I'd also suggest that actually this definition, so because it's also the amount of time they have those symptoms. That's also
like how
important.
many years they have hearing loss.
Well, so for example, you may, if you have vision loss, for example, if you're looking at vision loss as a symptom, if you've lost your eyesight from an accident, then you're probably never getting your vision back.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have, or if you're thinking about, something like speech is a good example of this one. So if stroke is has a big impact on speech, for example. But when you have severe stroke, you never get the speech back. But if you have mild stroke, then your speech can recover in a few months.
Mm.
But I would do that specifically for hearing loss. Kind of like, is it permanent, short-term, long-term? Some quantification for how long you're going to have that symptom, and just do that specifically for hearing loss. And then as soon as we've got that table, we should, I'd around 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock your time, you should be able to finish that today. And then let's catch up with it, and then let's go from that table. If you've already got those disutilities associated with that, I think also we'll focus on this UE3, because we can feed this UE3 into the because this has, where is hearing?
Do we need another table for just to add up like the nice technology assessment thing for just for single disease of like how utility loss for stroke, or I don't really need to do that already?
You don't need to pull those in, but you reference them in your write-up. So I'm generating your BibTeX stuff now as well, so you can do for the to make the referencing of all of this stuff easier for you. I'm generating those while we talk, because it's quite there's a lot of references we found for all of this stuff. But for this, as this comes into hearing, we can absolutely do these symptoms. This is
because I'm worried about is like when we're running the data, is there like a format for my table? Because can I just show you my table again?
Yep.
Yeah. Can you see it? Or?
Not yet, but it says it started. Yep.
For example, I kind of because as I go through more documents, it's kind of like the table become more and more, and
yep.
I'm not sure if because I'm just worried like we have like really limited time right now. I really need the data analysis out so I can submit the first draft, but like we are kind of still far away from generating the actual data. and I just
Well, no,
want to make
because
sure.
because as you had, the thing is you're sat with these, you already have have pretty much. Is this just hearing loss that this one's on, or is this
Yeah,
all?
just for the hearing lost.
Um,
Because there's also like some of the. It's not entirely. It's more of like age related. I'm not sure if we need that, but I just including at the end just in case we might need that. Like the original data, it kind of shows. Let's see, it shows you the. It's like when I was extracting the data, I'm not entirely sure how much of that we needed. So just a minute, sorry. Hearing loss, hearing loss, hearing loss, hearing loss. Table 54. 60. Where's the table?
either.
Here. Can you see this one?
Yep.
It's like this one is for the age related, but I'm not sure if we need this at all. Like, I think that's the only like time towards time that was kind of related to it. Otherwise, it's more of like just how adult and child and like the utility value differences with different treatments.
I don't think this is specifically. I don't think this one is specifically something you massively need to worry. It's probably too much detail. Because I don't for the thing with the quality thing with this model is the point of this model is to have a solid base for estimating those numbers. So for something like, say, a cochlear implant, within your model, a cochlear implant utility improve like gain by age from a utility implant would be the change in symptom when you have the cochlear implant. So it moves, for example, severe deafness to mild deafness. That would be the effect in your model that would then give us these numbers. So it's something like this is but the thing with it, where that actual utility change, and this is why the HUI 3 is really important, that that actual increase in utility that's associated with that is when you how all of the changes in how all of the changes in symptoms correlate with each other. So things like that depression. So something like this utility gain from a cochlear implant is going to come from the fact that you can hear, and also maybe that you're not as depressed as you were before you had the cochlear implant. So I would say this itself is kind of a step too far. Really, what we're interested in at the moment is what is the utility of people with a disease.
So like this.
Yeah, so kind of like, well, as they're coming from this kind of thing, but again, I would say from the utility side of stuff, and it's not utility is probably the wrong way to look at it, because it's the right way to look at it is how utility is estimated from something like that HUI 3. So that HUI 3 estimate for what the actual utility is, those numbers come from the answer to that HUI 3, and this is part of what I was saying about you have this correlation of the different symptoms together. So I would actually say for a lot of the kind of outcomes from this as utility numbers themselves are going to be probably come from this, like that mapping you were saying of the HUI3. But again, we can run with this with the tables you've got. The most important thing to get sorted at the moment is disease severity and the duration that symptom, how long you have that symptom. As soon as we've got that table, we can start generating results that you can start having numbers like these, like your own versions of these 0.17 or for the different outcomes. And also then you can see kind of like what you actually need. You don't need like this again the same numbers multiple times. You just need to have these are the actual figures filled in, and we can run with those to expand them out. But you just to get the thesis and the design and the validation kind of side of stuff. Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm so confused right now.
Yeah. Well, we've kind of gone around the houses a little bit. Fundamentally, get the disease severity, duration. Get a table of that for stroke to deafness.
But do I have to collect data for stroke utility itself? Because otherwise,
No. You were doing it specifically just on hearing loss.
Hearing loss.
So sorry, I said stroke, but what I meant was for diseases that cause hearing loss.
Disease that cause hearing loss, and how much how much out of that have like hearing loss basically, and how severe the hearing loss was like causing with that disease together.
Exactly.
And besides that, is there any other data that I should be aware of? Because basically what I'm collecting in my Excel file is the utility differences between
everything you've got at the moment is absolutely the stuff you need, but to move to the next to the next step, what we want is at least is a reasonable version of that disease severity duration table. As soon as we've got that, we can start. We can create you so if you can get that by the end of today, then tomorrow, then realistically, you're going to have better ones by the end of this. Coming into next week, I would guess for that. What time are we on?
But sorry, I just like my concern was like I'm afraid like still when we are running the model, there might be some error, and we might need some time to fix that. To consider that timing, I'm not sure. So I can like quickly go through the paper and just to find the disease that was like linked to hearing loss, and then I could got the like roughly the estimation for that. Is it possible for us to at least run like an initial data out of it?
Yeah. So this is what I was saying. As soon as we've got that table. As soon as we've got that table, we can start generating results, because at the moment we can't, because we can do that, for example, for stroke. So we can start getting this round, pull out stroke patients and feed, because stroke patients is one example, but if you have that from the table, we can feed in, okay, this is the stroke patient, this is what this actually looks like, and we can start generating symptoms in stroke patients.
So like for symptoms, it will be like hearing loss as the symptoms, or was that? Yeah,
exactly. So you've got hearing loss as like one of your symptoms that you're doing. I think it's also I think to focus on these, to focus on that HUI3 type or the others that you've got so it's basically what you need. Those two tables, I think, are the fundamental parts of what you have, which is disease. And when I say disease, I mean by ICD-10 code. So don't just do stroke, do the ICD-10 codes for stroke, which is I60 to I63, is it? 4. I60 to I63 is stroke. So that table wants I60, I63 for stroke. That is what you will pick up from the data that we have. That wants to feed into generating symptoms that you're going to put into, and then the second table that you've already got on there, which is when we have hearing loss as a symptom, what's the disutility associated with that hearing loss. I think I think even just that's going to be quite interesting, because I'm quite interested to see when we do that, how that for a stroke patient just for the hearing loss correlates to the disutility of having a stroke. And we're starting getting interesting numbers from that already. When they're saying 50% of people are having stroke, and you've got quite a big impact on quality of life from hearing loss. So I think this.
Sorry, I just want to make sure one thing. Like, so for example, like when I was looking for a disease that may have like hearing loss as like a symptoms or like comorbidity together, I assume they might have like a data set restrictions for what's already in the national health model. Is there like a code or like disease list I should look into for specifically for hearing loss?
So for those, just for your table, if you do them, what I would say is for your table as you do them at the moment, list all the diseases that call hearing. Let me just have I'll just Google it because I say let me just Google causes of hearing loss. Hearing loss, Mayo Clinics. Conduct. 3 types, symptoms, causes, risk factors, aging, how hearing loss can occur, risk factors, loud noise, hereditary, sound levels, let's see if, what diseases can result in hearing loss. And more middle ear infections, diabetes. Yeah, okay, this is probably the best one of those. Let me send you that. I'll PM it to you on Tanya's Discord. Sabrina, message. Definitely do stroke. Don't worry if there's a lot of them on there. I would concentrate on. And that's actually got references for them as well. 4, 3, 4. That's actually got references in there as well. So I'd focus just on the what are the numbers you can pull out from the ones that have references on that. Mm-hmm. So they're saying diabetes. Basically, they're saying diabetes. So traumatic injuries, medication related, Lyme disease, high blood pressure, hypertension, cancers, stroke, diabetes, and excessive earwax, and middle ear infections from things like measles, mumps, flu. Hello?
Can you hear? Sorry, I think there's a pause in between, or...
Oh, maybe. So just that one. I just sent you on Discord that link. Use that link as for your what the diseases are.
Okay.
So just stick with those ones for the thing of this. If those are the diseases that cause hearing loss, try and get a table with the way for you, because you have disutilities for severity of hearing loss already, don't you, in your table?
Yeah, I already have that.
Right, so we already have that as well. So for those, try and break those diseases into the number of people with that disease that end up with hearing loss as a symptom and how that's distributed. If you need to guess by the end of the day, just guess from what you've read, but try and get that filled in by the end of today. Then tomorrow you can focus on getting your rest of everything you've just. Do you have more of that presentation, or was that all of it? Because we kind of stopped at the third slide.
I actually have more, but it's not really about the methodology. It's just like what I have so far.
Could we just quickly flick through that?
Okay. It's just the step I was doing, how collecting the data out of it.
Super. Great.
And then just how some note I make from it, like the results.
Super. Next.
And then I thought like this these are the part I should, like the yellow highlighted is supposed to be like the part I should be focusing on, but like I like
Yep.
yeah. And just like this is like my old table. Like I haven't updated the newer one, but that's the old table I
Yeah,
had.
that's good. Yep.
And I'm not sure about the R analysis. This is mostly of my guessing about the R analysis. It's like very basic method, like math, like calculations towards it. I guess like we have to.
I would. So I just hide this one from your presentation at the moment. There's something different from this, but carry on.
Yeah.
We're better than that.
And just like the overall, I guess I'm just like focusing how majorly ask about the validation part and like the data analysis. I'm not sure if because I really need to show something for my supervisor tomorrow. I'm not sure, is it possible like if I, for example, extract the data out from the.
What time is your meeting with your supervisor?
It's like 3:00 at evening.
Afternoon.
Yeah, afternoon.
3:00 afternoon.
Yeah.
4:00 our time. Get that table to us. We'll get you some R graphs. We'll get you some graphs in there already by tomorrow afternoon. No problem.
Okay, so I would
Yeah,
just try to send the. Let me send you the Excel file I have so far. If there's anything I to fix, I will just fix it together as well, and I will submit the disease part to you guys like later today.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
hopefully at least I can show a little bit of something to my supervisor tomorrow, because he was like last week when we have the meeting, he was like, oh no, you really need to have shown me the result next week. Like, so I really had to show him something tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll definitely get you the things on those by tomorrow afternoon. Yeah.
Okay. I'm so sorry about that. But okay, I will send you the.
No. I mean, this is it. It's this balance between. The. You've got to have the research versus you've got to kind of have the numbers. It's one of the reasons why I was like really pushing for getting you guys on the R, because that is it's very, very typical kind of issue if you spend so long trying to collect all the evidence that you don't have enough time to implement anything.
Mm-hmm.
But from our side on that, as long as you are basically starting to, you're basically, it is 1st of August. You're going to be even kind of a little bit ahead on what I would recommend for that, because it's not. I was saying for generating your R results, you want to kind of start in August. So you're kind of you're pretty much on this. They pushed that through from the deadline, but we'll get you results on this. We'll take the stroke one as an example and give you and you can generate some graphs out of what that look. We'll generate you some graphs out using the tables that you've made, and then but from your side to make everything we've kind of discussed on this, you need to make sure you're documented, because if it's not in your thesis, then people don't know what we talked about.
Okay.
And this is the last one of these slides, I guess, is it?
Yeah, that's the last one.
Yeah. Yeah, so don't forget, you have as I was showing on earlier, this the explanation of this publications. So to check on both those, I think this database of the technology assessments, kind of this is already the kind of right place for that, for the results from the R. That we'll get you a. I think what I'll aim for tomorrow afternoon is giving a stroke patient what you've said in that percentage that has the different diseases, the different symptoms. How does that translate? What does that actually translate into a disutility of an average stroke patient?
Okay.
Related from hearing loss. I think that's a good good enough start for you for tomorrow, to have that of this is the distribution, these are the distributions you end up with of the different, just purely from hearing loss, and these are the average, and then the rest of them are just filling in the other gaps. But having said that, there is an extra step that your supervisor probably won't realise, which is this HUI3 kind of relationship with those, but we'll deal with those mid-August.
Because I think for the first draft, we already have to finish all the data analysis already. We can't do the data analysis at the August. Like, we can only refine our paper at that. So that's why I'm really worried about our progress, because I don't think we can do we
Well,
cannot
normally when we've done this before, the actual thesis writing didn't even start till you finished with us. So I'm quite surprised they've jumped. Maybe they've probably jumped that forward because people weren't doing the thesis. But I don't think there's any problem with, say, for this for this on the analysis on the moment. Really, what's important from this is to be starting in this data analysis and results side of stuff is where we're up to now. Definitely, you're not really in any data collection side of things at the moment. You're starting. This is your Zoom payment card thing. Still needs updating. So we'll start with that from the results, and I say you'll see this as you come on from the R. Basically, as long as you do your thesis in R Markdown, those will drop in as you run your thesis out. So do your thesis in the R Markdown, and you'll see as we run out from those that you start having the data analysis kind of side of stuff. But yeah, this process now to actually generate and pull the results is very much just to start getting the results and validating them now is kind of the point that we're at. So
okay. So
you are in this kind of 6, 7, 8 now is the next few weeks.
So for today, I just go collect the disease that related to hair lost and see how much of that have hair lost, and then I'll send you guys that table for the end of the day. Yeah,
and
I will send the Excel file through Tanya's chat first. Okay, just
drop that out. Just save that over on Discord, and then I say I'll do you an R Markdown file in your UCL folder.
Okay.
Or you can send directly to me. I'll put those from that table. I'll start doing you the R in your R Markdown thing with results with some of the numbers with some of the tables and stuff from that.
Okay, so at least I can show them that tomorrow. Okay, perfect.
Of where that's up to, yeah. And this, as you say, on this kind of overall next steps, you're in this 6, 7, 8 now for the next kind of 4 weeks is what that is, and just making sure that's alongside your thesis is done. Yeah, no problem.
Okay, perfect. So for now, do we have to focus on any other thing for the collecting part, or should I just refine the
get it written down, get everything you've done, describe everything you've done, found and run into at the moment written down.
Okay.
And you'll be, and bearing in mind, don't forget you have those, you have within that and within that discussion side those 4 quali publication things.
For quali publication, which one?
If you go to on your UCL, on the UCL 2026 folder.
Just a minute.
You have Sabrina, and then you have 4 Word documents. So I take quali citation, those 4. So those are like an AI breakdown of all the publications that it said were good for doing this quali stuff.
Yeah.
So what I would start doing from this, the things that you found already, what we'll say on that is the titles is the ID of the publication.
Yeah, I have gone through some of them already.
So what I will say from that, what I'm making for you now is bibtex for those publications. So all you have to do to cite one of those publications is do in the bibtex the PMC 1265781, and that will then do all the referencing of that one for you.
Yeah, I think I do that already. Is it like, can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
I think I tried to do that already yesterday. So just like the most basic one so far, and I submit it, and suppose the document will come out, right?
Yep. Yeah, so you've probably got the documents open already.
Oh.
There you go, yes. Just click yes to that and it should be okay. It'll let you. That's just the table of contents it's updating. Or try pressing escape. It's just, yes, this is Word being a typical Word pain in the ass. Is there another Word document open somewhere?
But like, yeah, it opened successfully yesterday. I'm not sure why. Probably
No,
our connection is
it's
bad.
definitely open. This is Word. So that's because Word's you've possibly got another Word document open that's like wanting you to do something. But Word itself, maybe if you right click on that Word, if you right click on the Word on the bottom, you know, where it's got like the Word thing open. If you right click on that, just do force quit. Right, now isn't it now?
Should I hit it again?
Yeah. Go back to your desktop.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think so.
Yeah. So what I'm making for those, what I'm just creating for that at the moment is the referencing for this that has all of your PMCs in, so that you can then just reference. You can then just use the numbers. You don't need. You can just say, okay, I want to put these references in these bits, and just keep the references from the logs, and that'll do all the titles and formatting and all the rest of it for you, so that you'll have a library of the publications that we've already found with the descriptions of when to use them. But what I would start to do is now, within your document, as you've done those different stages and as you have your thesis structure, to start saying of those ones that it's saying use, which are the one where are they actually going. So in that like quality citation reports, to start collecting from your thesis, from as you've got laid out in that actual section where you've got like review of the evidence, and you know you're doing the breakdown of, because obviously you're not just hearing loss, you also want to do the others from that speech, from that Huey mapping. So you'll want speech, or the 8 different domains or whatever it is that define those states. You see what I mean?
I'm not quite sure, like the 8 domain part. Sorry.
That one I was showing. Let me send you on Discord the publication for that.
You mean like the
Huey 3
like, one?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
So do we have to discuss about the Huey 3 ones also in the?
Well, this is it. Your thesis in terms of those wants to describe the relevant of everything you've come into now. Your thesis wants to explain the things that are important, explain why they're important, explain why you ignored certain aspects and why you chose others. So Huey 3 versus EQ5D, why is Huey 3 going to be more valuable?
Oh, yeah, I got that. Okay.
And you've got and similar for these kind of like defining what these what the actual symptoms are, talking about the EQ5D ones that you're going to take. Some of those will end up being appendices because they're just big long lists of tables. Some of those things need to be actually within your thesis itself, with bringing front and center with explanation for them. So yeah.
Okay. So in terms of the data coming up, I'm not quite sure how my data will look like. Will it look something similar?
It will mostly be, so you'll see when this comes. You'll see when this comes for tomorrow. But I say for that, we can talk about that again when we have these 2 tables and we've started generating some quality of life results from your model. But from your side, absolutely get focused on getting this stuff written down, because actually from your side, your problem is less the data analysis, because most of what you're actually generating is relatively straightforward of just classifications, but your theory and documentation behind it is by far the biggest burden. I mean, that's why you ended up with 4 of these Word documents, because it could only fit like 800 publications on one document, and you ended up with like nearly 2,000 odd relevant publications to what you actually need to look at. So that at that aspect of things, of how that ties together, I'd really kind of start focusing, because actually your biggest data collection problem at the moment is how much material is available to go into explaining quality of life. At the end of the day, it's a nice simplified down version of that, but from your thesis in terms of what that looks like and pulling those things together. Yeah.
Okay.
That much more than the data analysis, because at the end, I can tell you now from the R stuff of that, it runs, it gives you results, and if you change anything, it makes new results in the document. So that's not going to be something that's a burden to you once that's up and running. But the publications and dealing with all the conflicting and things that are like nearly the same but slightly different, and trying to how you summarize that is by far the biggest headache in the quality of life stuff.
Okay.
But what you've laid out down on those in that presentation is absolutely spot on process for it. So, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let me start with the generating the actual data, and I'll start that, and then further on just carry on the writing, and we'll see like if I encounter any question, I will just ask you guys for further.
Yeah. No problem.
Okay.
Clarification, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Sorry. So for tomorrow, like, should we have a meeting again, or what the data?
Maybe, yeah. Probably what we'll do is we'll have I think we're quite busy, tied up for tomorrow with calls and stuff, but we'll fit you in on like a 10-20 minute one just to talk through what we've got.
The data part. Okay.
Yeah.
So is it possible to do it on the morning, or what time will be?
I need to...
No. Morning we have already a very important meeting to attend.
Okay,
that was the stroke
yeah, we've
project.
got this with Victor and the thing, so yeah, get those to me. I will at least on that R Markdown file that you just opened, I will update that with running the model and giving you with some graphs in it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry.
No, that's the plan. And then I say, if we need a call, if you want to call just quickly before you kind of go to your supervisor and thing, we can probably fit a 10-20 minute in. But other than that, getting that done in and thing is much kind of day taking.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I will check if this meeting is maybe postponed or something like that, and then we'll let you know for tomorrow morning. But if not, no mornings.
Okay.
Maybe what time morning you will?
I need to build it, so.
Yeah, when Mark is ready, we can speak.
Okay.
That's true. Okay, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely day.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.